Hey everyone, what's going on? It is Zach, and today we are going to talk about some of the mons that will come once Pokemon Home opens up for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. We're going to talk about some of the move changes because with a lot of the competitive mons, a move missing could really hurt it, or a move added could really benefit it. Also on here is some stat changes and ability changes, but most of those only apply to the Hisuian mons. But we're going to take a look at that. So shout out to Rio Dadadu on Twitter. They created this list so we can check it out. If you guys enjoy this content, do not forget to like and subscribe. And first off is Alolan Raichu. Now, Alolan Raichu is okay. Where it really benefits is the Surge Surfer ability, which doubles its speed in electric terrain. But unfortunately, it does lose Rising Voltage. That's one of the, tutor moves that did not make it into Scarlet and Violet as of yet, and because it's deleted from its move pool, I don't think it's gonna come back, unfortunately. It also doesn't have Expanding Force, so unless Rising Voltage somehow gets into its like move pool after this update, then it probably won't get it. Endeavor is kind of stinks. Endeavor on Raichu, Kanto Raichu was really good. Speed Swap as well can really take advantage of, its fast speed in the electric terrain. What else does it lose? Really didn't use Toxic. Yawn still has Fake Out, right? Yes, it still has Fake Out. Knockoff, which really wasn't used that much. Ally Switch. Can't see it here because my camera's in the way, but it does lose Ally Switch. They really restricted the Ally Switch move pool. You can see that with Alolan Diglett and Alolan Dugtrio, but it does get Eerie Impulse, which could be really good supporting, which drops the special attack down by 2, I believe. So having the Eerie Impulse there is not too bad, and now it can set up its own Psychic Terrain, but it doesn't benefit as much because of the lack of Expanding Force. But let's move on. Let's see what else we got. See, I don't know what size I want this. I want to be able so you can see the Pokemon. Alolan Dugtrio isn't bad. It just doesn't have decent HP. Its HP is horrid, so it can't really take hits too well. It loses beat up, so you can't use it next to Annihilate, but why would you do that when there's Mouse Hold? Anything else? High horsepower. Losing high horsepower is pretty crappy for it. It loses Ally Switch. It gets access to Foul Play now. That could be, decent. Next up is Alolan Persian. Alolan Persian does get Chilling Water, so to be able to come in and drop the attack with its really good 115 speed is actually beneficial for Alolan Persian here. Alolan Persian has a lot of good moves, so finding a place to fit in Chilling Water would definitely be like a use case. In that case, it also does get access to Thunder Wave. Alolan Persian is actually pretty bulky with its ability Fur Coat, which doubles its defense, I believe. So you can actually use Alolan Persian pretty well, especially if you're getting a Chilling Water to drop the attack. So we might see that more than we don't. The moves it loses Knockoff. Being a dark type, a Knockoff was a really good utility move to get rid of items. So losing that Knockoff is kind of a bummer. Lash Out. Once again, Lash Out, Burning Jealousy. A lot of those Sword and Shield tutor moves aren't coming back, which is, like I said before, it's a bummer. Especially when we get to Rillaboom. It losing Throat Chop as well. Throat Chop is a decent dark type move, just like Knockoff. It getting a weaker dark type move pool here is really lame, especially if you do want to run Chilling Water. Usually Alolan Persian runs Foul Play and Snarl, so if you are using Foul Play and for some reason you also have Chilling Water, every time you use Chilling Water you make your Foul Play weaker on that mon. Hisuian Arcanine basically gets all of the moves that regular Arcanine does. It loses Tackle, Rock Smash, Swift, Iron Tail, and Play Rough. The play rough here, I don't know. I would have to say that's the biggest loss. Of course, these Hisuian mons, they really had set move pools to begin with. It's Justified turns into Rockhead for its hidden ability, but that's about it for Hisuian Arcanine. Slowblow Galar is actually a decent Trick Room mon with its really low speed and its decent bulk and HP, and with the 100 attack and special attack, you can hit from both sides, whatever your team needs. It does get Acid Spray, so this mon will be a good raid mon. It gets the Chilling Water, once again making its defenses even better. Gunk Shot, Ice Fang isn't bad. It's a good coverage move, but you'd probably want to use Ice Beam instead. I don't know if it already got Ice Beam. Waterfall, a lot more physical moves I'm seeing in the Galar Slowbro here. What does it lose? It loses Brine, which Brine was a really like odd move. It did more damage if the Pokemon had less than 50 HP. It had its use cases, but most of the time you were going for a consistent special water attack instead. Dive, no expanding force. Hail, but it does get Snowscape. That's just kind of a switch. It loses the Mega moves, Mega Kick, Mega Punch. Losing Muddy Water kind of stinks. And Scald. Scald is one of those big ones. We already knew that Scald was basically wiped off of the game except for Volcarona. So all these mons that had access to Scald is taking the L here with losing it. And Weather Ball. No Weather Ball this gen. Next up is Alolan Muck. Now Alolan Muck with its it has once again good HP, good bulk, very slow speed, but what Alolan Muck really did was just start chipping away at a team and really enabling it. And that kind of goes away here a bit because of, let's see, does it still get knockoff? Okay, so it still does get knockoff. That's actually really good for it, and that's going to make it kind of unique because a lot of mons lost knockoff. But what really hurts the Alolan Muck is recycle. So one of the strategies that you would do is have Gluttony, which makes you eat berries early, and so you would have a recovery berry on Alolan Muck, and then you could recycle the next turn, which kept Muck around a lot longer, so you could get those poisons. You can get rid of those items with knockoff. But Poison Dark type is actually going to be decent. I would love to use Alolan Muck once it comes back and it's VGC viable. Losing the Clear Smog kind of stinks, especially with a slower mon. You can get a slow Clear Smog, so even if they do boost, you'll be able to clear it off before they can attack again. Yeah, I'd have to say its biggest loss is maybe like Recycle and probably Shadow Sneak. Getting a priority move on this slow mon is kind of good. And it loses Pain Split. So the two big ways that people would recover with Alolan Muck through Pain Split and Recycle with the Gluttony Berry is gone from this. So I kind of noticed they were really dealing with more stall mons here, so it's harder to build a team around stall. Still absolutely viable. We've seen that with Glamora and the Toxic Spikes, with Dodonzo. We've also seen it with Toxapex, still is somewhat usable with the stall. And then you have Garganacl, which is, really good. Looking at Electrode. Electrode here, Hisuian form is Grass and Electric. It gets, its averages moves. You have the Screech, you have Bullet Seed, which is really good. But you probably want to go for the special anyway with Energy Ball. I believe it already had Energy Ball. But it's losing Spark, Ice Ball, and Magical Leaf. I want to say the Ice Ball is probably the biggest loss for it here because of, just being able to hit ground types. Can you imagine, having a fast Ice Ball into a Garchomp into a Landorus? That would be really good for Hisuian Electrode. Does it get Gyro Ball? I think that this one getting Gyro Ball is hilarious. Maybe it's it's supposed to be like anti-Trick Room, but with the birds, the Galar birds, Galar Articuno losing Ally Switch, Dual Wing Beat, Expanding Force, kind of stinks for it. But I like it gets Psybeam, so I guess that's not too bad. You had the Trick Room. Galar Articuno is kind of like the Trick Room bird out of the three, which is funny because it has a base 95, which isn't bad, but it had access to Trick Room. When we look at Zapdos, Zapdos is the one that I use the more, so that's really the mon I want to look at. Getting Acrobatics is really good here. It doesn't have it has an okay attack. You usually want to go special with Zapdos, so having Acrobatics is okay, but Helping Hand, Electric Terrain, pretty good here. Zapdos isn't grounded though, so I'm pretty sure it doesn't take advantage of the Electric Terrain. What did it lose? Curse, no one really used Curse. It lost Hail, it didn't get Snowscape and lost Hail. Dual Wing Beat, obviously. Weather Ball, that was kind of an option for a Dynamax Zapdos there. Rising Voltage, lost Reflect. Should also lose Light Screen. Did it never have Light Screen? I don't know. It still has Heat Wave though, so I'm okay with that. Usually I like on my Zapdos going, you know, Thunderbolt, Hurricane if you have the rain mode, which I did a lot with the Kyogre, and then Heat Wave to take advantage of if they switch in the sun. Galarian Zapdos, Aerial Ace, good move. Sunny Day and Sandstorm, that's pretty cool here. I know that Galarian Zapdos took advantage of safety goggles really well, so this could be a really good check to Amoonguss and other Ruin Pokemon. It lost Blaze Kick, that kind of sucks coverage wise. Dual Wing Beat, not the biggest deal, but a good way to deal with Focus Sash Mons. Lost Superpower, but I believe it still gets close combat. Throat Chop is a little bit of a loss, and then like the coaching and the bounce. So lost a decent amount of viable moves. Galar Moltres, I'm not really going to look at. Regular Moltres, it did lose a lot, but I feel like regular Moltres isn't used as much as Galar Moltres was. It gets Acrobatics, of course it's a special attacker though, and with its ability you want to use the special attack. Gets Rain Dance, Sandstorm, Sunny Day, so it gets all the weather but Snowscape. It loses Tailwind though. That could have been really good. So did Zapdos. Oh wait, no, it gets Tailwind. It gets Tailwind. Okay, both these Mons getting Tailwind is really good, especially Galar Zapdos at a base 100. And it just lost this Assurance, Dual Wing Beat, Lash Out, and Steel Wing. So big improvements on Galar Moltres, especially having the option for the Tailwind. I think that could really do well for it, especially because, you know, you can't click Max Airstream anymore. Mewtwo really isn't viable. It's lost a bunch of moves here. Most of these moves are just either, you know, cutting down usage, like Ally Switch, are just moves that are gone from the game. I really don't see anything that Mewtwo used a lot when it is VGC legal, except for Expanding Force, of course. But yeah, other than that, it gets Chilling Water, not bad. Dark Pulse, really good here. Having the Earth Power, just good moves all around. Stomping Tantrum. Mew lost so many moves, and that's just because they're not used anymore. But yeah, I mean, that's a big deal because Mew was known as that Mon that got a lot of usage, but Mew isn't VGC viable. Hysterian Typhlosion loses Ominous Wind and Mystical Fire. I do think Mystical Fire is really good for this Mon, dropping special attack and being a fire type move, because there's not a lot of ways to lower special attack. Its Flash Fire becomes Frisk, so it's Actually, that's actually a worse ability. But how often is someone going to hit that with a fire type move? But then again, you could run it like you do Armor Rogue, where you get rid of all the ghost type weaknesses. Or so Roll Edge with a, a strong terastallization like grass or steel, and then the flash fire kind of like takes away a weakness. Gets blast burn, heat wave, earthquake. Getting Will-O-Wisp really good. I think it kind of needs Will-O-Wisp here. Play Rough is a decent coverage move, especially if you are going to go up against the dark type mons. But I wish there was something more that you could use on the special side. Maybe it already gets Moonblast. I really didn't look at what moves were already there before looking at this list. Galar Slowking here, for example, another good, Trick Room mon, is a little bulkier actually, but it leans more on the special attacking side. So Slowking Galar is probably going to be used maybe a little more than Slowbro. Lost Scald, lost Sludge Wave, lost Expanding Force. That's really the only bad thing. Has Acid Spray, has Chilling Water. Acid Spray is stab here. So, lowering the special defense by 2 and doing stab damage, even though it's a very weak move, is not too bad. Chilling Water, drop attack. Chilling Reception, I believe that switches out. I've never used Chilling Reception. I'm going to look at that. Okay, yeah. So it's basically a parting shot, but instead of dropping the stats, it brings a snowstorm, which is kind of funny. Has Fire Punch, Gunk Shot, Helping Hand, Low Sleep, Poison Jab, but it's not a special attack. Side Beam isn't bad here. Snarl is pretty good. Gets Taunt as well, and Toxic and Toxic Spike, so this could be pretty decent here. Hisuian and Quillfish, obviously Double Edge Ice Ball. Ice Ball wouldn't be bad. I think Ice Ball would be good on most mons, but there should be other ice type moves for it to take advantage of. It does get Taunt, Haze, Hex. I think Hex is really good on these Poison Dark mons. Has the Acid Spray as well. Venoshock. It gets Stockpile and Spit Up. Doesn't get Swallow though. Swallow is when you take the stockpile and you like heal off of it, right? I don't remember. It does get Brine, so it could definitely take advantage of like poison chip damage. But we'll look at Overquill. I've seen Sneasel. I don't think it would be good as regular Sneasel with the fake out and all this and that. Now we got our weather trio. So Kyogre loses, let's see, anything that's really used. Psych Up strategies were good here and there, especially when Xerneas was on the field. Psych Up would be really good here. Loses the Scald, which kind of stinks. Gets Chilling Water, which isn't too bad. Groudon, I think Groudon took the biggest loss out of all these mons. It lost Dragon Tail, which is a good coverage move, and it forces switch outs. If Groudon did want to carry a dragon move, it was usually Dragon Claw instead. It also lost Psych Up, lost Roar. Roar was really good for those setup mons, especially like a Xerneas, for example, in the restricted formats. And now I think Xerneas is going to be a lot better now that Dynamax isn't around. Losing High Horsepower and Heat Crash is a real bummer, because those were really decent moves to use with Groudon. And especially now, like the Heat Crash is better because weight related moves didn't work in Dynamax, and now you don't have to worry about that. Lost Brutal Swing. Scorching Sands is one of those egg moves again. Losing the Rock Polish, so it loses some setup here. In return, it gets Body Press, which is really good. Will-O-Wisp is really good for it to deal with, just helping with that bulk even more. really shutting Mons down. Doesn't get defense curl anymore. Does it get iron defense? I would have to see if it gets iron defense. It gets fire fang, gets heat wave. But yeah, I think Groudon losing high horsepower, losing heat crash is a really big bummer. Losing roar is bad. Rock polish is takes away setup options, but getting the body press, I don't know. I guess Groudon kind of breaks even. Rayquaza, Stealth Rock, and U-turn. I think U-turn's really good here, especially because a lot of times a lot of people will run Rayquaza Focus Sash. But U-turn here, Wild Charge. I don't know how I feel about the recoil. What does it lose? Breaking Swipe is kind of a loss. We've seen Roaring Moon take advantage of the Breaking Swipe. I dealt with that against Ashton Cox in Knoxville. What else does it lose? It doesn't lose much that it used to often. So I think Rayquaza is fine here. Getting the U-turn, getting a pivot is pretty good for it. Uxie lost Ally Switch, obviously. Ally Switch really got lowered. They don't learn a lot of moves, but they lost a lot. But these mons are more of utility. They all lost knockoff. And that's about it. I think these are probably, like, these moves are a bigger hit for singles players. But as a, VGC player, I'm not too worried about it. Dialga getting Focus Blast isn't too bad. Trick could be kind of cool. I definitely think Trick could have its use cases with Dialga. It lost Gravity. Although you didn't see Gravity used too often with Dialga, but with Sandy Shocks using Gravity, you could see someone implying, the same strategy with Dialga. I don't know. I think Dialga makes out pretty fine. Focus Blast is not too bad. Deals with the mirror, deals with steel types that would take its hits decently well if you land it. Palkia here, losing a lot but gaining more. Icy Wind on Palkia is actually pretty good to be able to lower the speed of mons here. Not too bad. You get Chilling Water to lower physical attackers to help out with its bulk and make it stay around a lot longer, especially for a mon that usually does carry Trick Room. One of those restricteds that actually uses Trick Room a decent amount. What does it lose? HM moves like Cut and Dive. I didn't see Dual Wing Beat used too much on it. Yeah. Heatran losing Burning Jealousy and Heat Crash stinks. Yeah, most of what Heatran loses is like the move tutor moves and moves it didn't use anyway. It does get Flare Blitz though. Flare Blitz isn't bad, but it's mostly a special attacker, so you're gonna want to take advantage of that. Power Gem, not too bad here. I think that's about it. Giratina loses a decent amount of moves. Nothing to dual Breaking Swipe and Brutal Swing are kind of losses for it. I know it used that a lot to help with its bulk and all that. It does get Confusion Ray, and I don't think Takedown is a big addition. Cresselia, I think one of the first ones that we see with a stat change, minus 10 defense, minus 10 special defense, a defense debuff, which hurts it even more because, the recovery and all that going down in PP count. So keeping Cresselia around is going to be a little harder, but it gets Dazzling Gleam, which is really good for dealing with the dark types that want to switch in on it. Having Thunderbolt isn't too bad, especially against like bulkier waters. It loses Expanding Force. It loses Dream Eater. Power Swap, I think, had its use cases. I don't think anyone really used Recycle with Cresselia. It's kind of like Trick Room, Calm Mind, and then you usually do like a Psychic and Ice Beam. So now if you really wanted to, you could run like a Bolt Beam. You'd run a Bolt Beam Cresselia. That's actually not a bad idea, especially if P2 isn't coming back. Bolt Beam Cresselia could fit that niche that Porygon had. Arceus usually doesn't come in. Hisuian Samurott Shell Armor becomes Sharpness. I think Sharpness is a much better ability, especially with Hisuian Samurott can take advantage of it. I really dislike how I wish it had lower special attack, because it really doesn't take advantage of the special attack, but it gets Avalanche, Break, Chilling Water. Pretty good here. It's just adding a lot of the moves that regular Samurott gets. It loses Poison Jab. I think Poison Jab and Psycho Cut were good moves on it, especially the Psycho Cut can deal with poison types really well, but I don't think Hisuian Samurott loses a lot. Hisuian Lilligant. Acrobatics is actually pretty decent. It does also get Chlorophyll. Loses Baby Doll Eyes, Drain Punch, Leafage, Poison Powder. Loses Recover. Recover on this model would actually be really good. Gets access to Swords Dance and Synthesis, so you do have some form of recovery. And it still has the Ice Spinner. I think that's a really good move to have Ice Spinner. It was one of the tutor moves that did actually hang around here. Let's see. Axe Kick is going to be really good on it. That's about it. Basculin, it just loses Aqua Tail. Gets, most of its water moves. Last Respects. Hisuian Braviary. Once again, Mystical Fire. Mystical Fire is a good coverage move to have, whether you use it or not. It's like a good option to have. But what does it have? It's more of a special attacker. And Defiant becomes Tinted Lens. So does it get Hypnosis? Does Hisuian Braviary get Hypnosis? Never mind. I got Tinted Lenses confused with Compound Eyes, which increases the accuracy. So I was like, oh, well, Hurricane will hit harder. Will hit more guaranteed, but that's not the case. I think regular Braviary is probably always going to be better because of its stats and the way it takes advantage of them. So take that how it is. Let's see. Tornadus loses Brutal Swing. It did lose Brutal Swing a lot. No more Defog, obviously. Loses Knockoff, Lash Out. Those dark type moves, like, they're just, Knockoff's just really good. Loses Superpower. I don't think it used Superpower too much. What does it gain? Chilling Water. A lot of Mons gain Chilling Water, which I think that's good. And it's really weird that they added Chilling Water, but they like cut down the distribution of Mystical Fire. I don't know why. Gets Sandstorm, Snowscape, just to take advantage of the weathers if you need it. Thundurus here. I don't think Thundurus will be as good as a Defiant Mon. Still possible, but Acrobatics isn't bad here, depending on what item you use, obviously. Snarl, Sunny Day, Zen Headbutt, not too bad. What does it lose? It loses Superpower. Losing Superpower, I don't think that's that big of a deal. It used it more of in a Dynamax format, but it's a good coverage move nonetheless. Landorus. Loses Explosion, loses Knockoff, loses Sludge Wave. That's more of a regular Landorus Sheer Force, like singles kind of thing. Same with, Superpower and all that. So I don't think it lost a lot of moves. It does get access to Crunch. That's not too bad. Stomping Tantrum as well, and Taunt. I think Landorus does pretty good. I don't know. Sunny Day and Rain Dance. So basically, I think they're just filling in the moves that the Weather Trio didn't get. So I think they get all of the weather setting moves now. I don't know. It depends. Tornadus gets Snowscape. Falcon, Delphox. Delphox loses Ally Switch. Gets access to Focus Blast now and Stored Power and Nasty Plot. So you can Nasty Plot. You can probably it probably has Calm Mind, Calm Pine, Nasty Plot. Stored Power would be pretty good. Imprison, I don't know what moves you might want to lock in. Maybe Trick Room. I feel like this should have Trick Room. Does it lose anything worthwhile? I mean, other than Ally Switch, not really. Carbank. Let's look at Goodra. The Body Press. Goodra. It's going to be so good. Goodra is going to be so good. The Dragon Steel typing, I love it. I see an Avalugg. Earth Power isn't that big of a deal because it's special. Flash Cannon is special. Losing High Horsepower stinks. High Horsepower is a decent move, especially with a 127 attack stat. Ice Shard as well, losing that priority on such a slow Mon. It would definitely benefit a lot from having, some form of priority. Gets the Avalanche, of course. Earthquake. Stomping Tantrum. So, I mean, you would probably run Stomping Tantrum over High Horsepower. Recover, Rapid Spin, all that good stuff. Getting Wide Guard. Wide Guard is pretty good for the utility. Its special defense is booty though. Assuming Decidueye loses Focus Energy. And then Long Reach becomes Scrappy. I think Scrappy is actually really good here to be able to hit ghost types. So you can set it up. I think Hisuian Decidueye would be good with an Assault Vest. It's got a mid speed. It's actually pretty slow. So you could use it in Trick Room. But yeah, Psycho Cut might be, but then again, I don't know. I feel like regular Decidueye had U-turn, so this was going to get U-turn. Rillaboom. Rillaboom is probably taking the biggest L here, losing not only High Horsepower, but Grassy Glide. That just stinks for it. High Horsepower was a good coverage move against fire types, and then Grassy Glide was it was so strong on Rillaboom, especially that Rillaboom set its own grassy terrain. So not only were you able to get the fake out on Rillaboom, but then after that, you can just get priority Grassy Glides, which is probably why they got rid of it. But I don't know. I feel like it was okay. Rillaboom being that strong. It does get Seed Bomb and Low Sweep. Low Sweep isn't bad because of the superpower. Rillaboom has a lot of moves at lower speed. It's got its Drum Beating, which lowers speed, Low Sweep, lower speed, and Trailblaze to boost itself. Trailblaze isn't a bad addition, but why would you need to boost your speed if you could just get a priority Grassy Glide? Zacian, probably the biggest nerf. Minus 10 attack in its regular form, and then its Sword Doggo form is minus 20 attack. Still really strong. Gets access to Dazzling Gleam now. Flash Cannon, Iron Defense. Getting Iron Defense isn't too bad here. Poison Jab as well. Does it lose anything of note? Solar Blade. I saw some Sun teams with Zacian run Solar Blade, but I think that was really niche. Zamazenta. Zamazenta getting a nerf in attack, and then it is Shield Doggo form, gets a nerf in attack and -5 in both defenses, which kind of stinks for it. They really only debuffed Zamazenta because they did it to Zacian, and because they are mirror box legendaries, they have to have the same base stat total. Loses coaching, kind of stinks for it. Gets body press though. It gets body press, and that is going to be really good. There are definitely going to be some bulky teams for Zamazenta with like Heal Pulse and Intimidate and just body press. It doesn't get any recovery moves that I know of, but I mean, if you're bulking out and then you getting some iron defenses there, body press is going to do so much work. Brick Break to get rid of screens, and Stone Edge isn't bad for it to have. Eternatus loses Eterna Beam. Stinks, loses Mystical Fire. Body Slam, Fire Blast. Gunk Shot isn't too bad here. Gets Rainy Dance and Sunny Day. Eternatus is kind of eh. The Urshifus. So first off, they lowered the power of Wicked Blow. Wicked Blow is still going from 80 to 75, and because it always crits, it's actually like a bigger thing here. But I think Urshifu Dark type is going to be really good. They added Swords Dance to both of these mons. Now, granted, their special defense isn't the greatest, and I mean Flutter Mane, but you can Terrasilize, so you can always take advantage of the Sucker Punch or the Aqua Jet here. Does it lose anything of note? Throat Chop. Losing Throat Chop on Dark type Urshifu actually kind of stinks. Losing Throat Chop, Darkest Lariat, and Lash Out, that kind of stinks. But I mean, you get Swords Dance, you still have Sucker Punch, you still have Wicked Blow, and then you're probably going to slap Close Combat onto it. So I feel like these moves, it kind of sucks because it takes away some options, but let's be real. Sucker Punch and Wicked Blow, do you need other Dark type moves? No. I think Urshifu Rapid Strike made out a lot better here, but I do think that the Dark type was just stronger to begin with. Having the Ice Spinner, I think, is really good, especially if you want to deal with Grass type Pokemon. Having that Ice Spinner there could actually really help it. And the Flying types, Flying and Grass type. So having Ice Spinner on your Rapid Strike Urshifu is actually a pretty decent move. Zarude, Regieleki. What did Regieleki lose? Assurance, Bounce. Assurance was such a stupid move on this. Assurance doubles in damage if the Pokemon already took damage, but Regieleki's base speed is 200. So who on your team is hitting after Regieleki? Bounce was a good coverage move for Dynamax. I don't see it as useful in a non-Dynamax format. Screech was actually a really good move, so Screech is kind of a big loss here, especially with the speed to outright drop a Pokemon -2 was really good. Gets Charge Beam and Takedown, not that big of a deal. Regidrago here gets Earth Power, Earthquake, Ice Fang, Swift, Takedown, and Terra Blast. I think those are pretty decent moves for it, especially because its attack and special attack are pretty split. Losing the Breaking Swipe kind of stinks. Scale Shot was, it was whatever. And Self-Destruct. Glacier and Spectre. So, Glacier actually loses a decent amount. It loses Icicle Spear, it loses High Horsepower, it loses Lash Out, it loses Throat Chop, Superpower, All these moves were good option moves, especially high horsepower being a great coverage move against fire types and steel types that can take the ice attacks really well. You still have terrestrialization, but when the Mon used to have moves to take care of that type coverage before, it kind of stinks that like now your option is terrestrialization. Spectrier here did a lot better. You did use Psycho Cut every now and then, so losing Psycho Cut kind of meh. Draining Kiss is a good addition, and Psychic is a really good addition. So you still have that that good Psychic type move. Because you know Calyrex isn't going to get the expanding force here, so you do need a strong Psychic type move to have some coverage here. Draining Kiss, really good. Good to have recovery through a move and doing damage, especially with a 145 special attacking stat. Like Draining Kiss isn't going to do a lot, but it's going to do a decent amount of damage, and it's going to get you recovery. Calyrex learns Body Press, which we'll have to see if it gets that with Glastrier. Giving a Ice Rider Calyrex Body Press could actually be a scary thing to deal with. What does it lose? Doesn't lose anything all that special except for like the ally switch. But Psybeam, Snarl is not a bad move to have on it. Weredeer loses the high horsepower, and I really don't know. Like, it's Weirdeer. Do with it what you want. Cleavor is getting a debuff and a buff. It's getting +5 in special defense. It's getting a -5 in attack. Steadfast is going to sharpness. Sharpness is going to be really good with it. It does lose Psycho Cut, which could be a decent move, but you have so many others to choose from that can take advantage of the sharpness. You got the axe kick and all that. So Cleaver is going to be good, and definitely at a base 75, the 5 points in special defense do help. And then sharpness kind of like breaks even with the attack drop. Ursaluna, we kind of knew what to expect from Ursaluna. It's got Body Press. That's going to be good. With its ability stays the same. It has, what is it? It has Guts, I think. Guts Ursaluna is going to be really good and really scary, especially in Trick Room. Pascalesian really doesn't lose anything because, let's be real, you were just going to put Last Respects on it and a Waterfall on the male one, Liquidation on the female. Sneasler, losing Drain Punch kind of stinks. You know, it'd be good to have that recovery. Snarl is always a good utility move that you want to have. And does its ability change? It gets Unburdened. Ooh, Unburdened would actually be really good, especially with a 120 speed on the top of it. Getting a double speed boost. You just have to figure out what item you would use to proc it. Overquill, losing Ice Ball, losing Double Edge. I don't think Double Edge is that big of a loss. Because it's a really cool move, but Ice Ball kind of stinks. What is it? It says no ability change. It gets Brine, just like Quillfish, Hyzerian Quillfish. It gets Brine, which could be really good with a toxic set. Getting the Haze, getting the Hex is really good for Overquill. Acid Spray isn't too bad here. You know, like you're gonna go physical with this Mon, but having the Acid Spray isn't too bad. Liquidation, great move. Toxic Spikes, obviously Taunt. Swords Dance as well. Overcroll is going to be cool to use. Enamorous, I really don't know what to expect for Enamorous. It loses Crunch. I don't think it loses anything too, you know, Gets gets flatter, Fairy Wind. But yeah, that is all the changes. I want to say the biggest loser out of this is obviously Rillaboom. Losing the Grassy Glide, losing the high horsepower. That was a big usage on Rillaboom, those two moves, and it made Rillaboom more useful. So Rillaboom is not going to be as good. You might see them start to lean more offensively with like Wood Hammer and stuff like that, especially with the grassy terrain giving recovery. So I could still see the Assault Vest being viable with Fake Out U-Turn, Wood Hammer, and, you know, some coverage move, maybe a Terra Blast here and there. I think Cresselia kind of breaks even here. The fact that you can turn Cresselia into a Bolt Beam monster now is pretty good. Body press on things like Groudon and Zamazenta are really good overall, but those, like, we're not going to see those for a while. And I want to say the birds getting Tailwind is really good. Articuno does not get Tailwind though. Zapdos Galar gets Tailwind, and Moltres Galar gets Tailwind. I think that's a big winner too. And Alolan is definitely up there with Rillaboom, and losing out with Recycle, like losing Recycle, losing Pain Split. Like, this is going to make Alolan less viable, which is really sad because like these moves, Recycle, Pain Split, really helped its viability. So I do think Muck is definitely one of those losers, but let me know if there's any that you're excited for in the comments down below. And that's all. Let me know which one is the worst for you. I'd have to say mine's Rillaboom. I love Rillaboom, so making Rillaboom less viable and Alolan Muck is also just as sad for me, because I really wanted to use Alolan Muck when it came. But that's gonna be all. If you made this far in the video, I want to say thanks for watching. Do not forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, I'm Zach, and we'll see everyone later.